All right, so we have Max from Replayable Games. He is the CEO of Replayable Games. He's made what was it was chess. I forgot the exact name for it. I saw it.
Happy Chess.
Happy Chess.
It's actually still being developed after like 5 years, 6 years now, I guess.
I got
I
it.
kind of had to
I
take a
saw it
break
and
from
I
it.
wanted to support that. And so what is your backstory in developing games? Like, where did you start out?
Yeah. Well, first of all, thanks for having me on. This is it's a cool opportunity to get to talk about some of this stuff. Um, I actually grew up in Russia, and when I was little, I got to go to a sort of computer lab that was kind of a rare thing at the time. Um, and I got to play some video games when I was 6, which is not something I even knew existed up until that point. And I couldn't even sleep the whole night before, and didn't really know why. But once I sort of got my hands on video games, I pretty much knew that's what I wanted to do with my life. So it was a very focal moment for me in my early childhood when I was 6. So I think a lot of the kids around that time wanted to be astronauts, or I guess astronauts was the big thing at the time with the space race and everything. Yeah. So obviously, the space race was a big deal, but I was like, as soon as I saw video games, I was like, yeah, that's what I want to do. I want to make these things. And these weren't really impressive games. This was like Apple IIe kind of stuff, where I don't even know what they're called. Basically, like a shoots and ladders sort of games, like really pixelated. Like this was pre-Nintendo.
So was the first game that you developed Happy Chess, or did you have any practice test games before you actually developed something to where you published it?
Yeah, Happy Chess was the first one I published, if you can call it published at this point. I think it's been an alpha for several years. It's been kind of a bigger project than I intended it to be.
Oh, sorry. You can.
No, go ahead.
I was just gonna say, Blades Away. It's been about a month, I think. Actually, coming up soon. It should be a month that you've had it released, and it's had 50,000 downloads.
Yeah, we released it on April 8th, I think. So a little bit over a month, and yeah, we're coming up on 100,000 now.
Did you expect the blow up that it got? Because it kind of took off for a beta game.
Yeah, I mean, I think the quality of it was there. I was working with my friend Tony Matichek, who's just a phenomenal designer, and that's something that I'm not very good at all. So it was a very good sort of synergy there. With Happy Chess, I was working with quite a few people, and towards the end of the process, it really started to gain a lot of sort of friction, where people were kind of tired of working on it with me, and so everything had to require meetings, and then meetings to cover what was covered in the last meeting, and it's just kind of snowballed into this big thing that was kind of overwhelming. And this project, I was actually working on another game called Danger Dance that I've been trying to sort of realize for a while as well. And I just made this kind of simple knife simulation thing for it, and I was like, hey, I'm going to show my friend Tony. He might get a kick out of this. And I showed him, and he sort of just on his own went and made some knives, and he's like, hey, you want to put these into the game? And I was like, well, not this game, but we could just make a simple knife game. And that's sort of how it got started. And about 8 months later, here we are.
Now, when you were in so what inspired you was your friend making knives, and you wanted them to put in a game, but you didn't know what game, so you started developing this for some time before you felt comfortable bringing it to the platform. But was there any other games that you looked into when you were making Blaze Away?
Well, I mean, basically it started out because I've been trying to make this game called Danger Dance for a while now. It was actually the first game I tried to make even before Happy Chess, and I think this was like the 4th iteration of me trying to get it together. I always seem to get started on it, but then something else comes up. I think the first time I was trying to do it for XNA, which was the Xbox 360 arcade sort of indie platform that they were launching. And by the time I got a fair way into it, they were already canceling it. So I was like, well, can't do that. So I've remade that one a couple of times, and it's that one's kind of a hard sell, I think, for most people. And I'll maybe get into why a little bit later. But Essentially, I didn't really want to commit my friend to working on a game that may never get finished, and I thought, hey, maybe we can just do something kind of simple where we can make a phone game about throwing knives. I mean, that's pretty straightforward, and I think we set up the right sort of limits for ourselves where it actually got done, which was good.
Now you keep bringing up Danger Dance. It's been a backplane of yours. Do you hope that you can get further in development to where you can bring it back out or something?
Yeah, I definitely plan to make it.
That's your baby.
This would be more of like a console game than mobile, so there's a few hurdles there as far as releasing for console and publishing it. But mainly, it's just a very different sort of game. It's a dancing game, but it's not a rhythm game per se. Like most music-related games are kind of a follow-along rhythm game sort of thing. Like you have your rock bands or your Connect games where you have to do the poses and stuff. But this would be very different in terms of it being a very free-form kind of game. Like, you ever play Quap or Clop?
Oh yeah, I'm pretty sure that was like one of the free games that you could play at school that everybody would just get on, just so they didn't have to do schoolwork.
Right. So if you can imagine that and how difficult that is to play, but sort of in a dancing sort of context where you just kind of make your character dance around. And yeah, I mean, it's fun. And like the idea is that it's a danger dance, so there's all sorts of hazards. And you just try to kind of dance the best you can without cracking your head open. It's fun, but it's different enough to where I think it would be kind of a hard sell for a lot of people.
Yeah, because you're saying about the hurdles. What hurdles do you think you have when developing that game or getting into it?
One of the big ones is just how to score it because it is so freeform, and I don't really want to say, this is how you need to play it. It's supposed to be kind of a fun thing where you explore dancing and just make it up as you go along. So it's sort of difficult to know how to score that sort of thing um, without sort of boxing your players into a specific way to play it. So if you say, well, give you a score for doing flips, and now it's just a doing flips game and not really a freeform dancing game. So that's kind of one of the big hurdles. And the other one is just that people are not going to accept it. They're going to be like, this is too hard to play. This is harder than Quap or whatever. And I think that's a big challenge, even with Blades Away, which I felt was a pretty straightforward game. But I keep getting like 1-star reviews that say, this is uncontrollable. I can't play this at all.
Well, it's still an early beta. It says right on the game. They should be expecting flaws in a new game always. I don't know why people think each game is different. It's all games when they're first coming out. There's going to be so much bugs. And you guys are updating pretty frequently. Blades Away, I think almost like every 6 days, I'd say.
Yeah, about every week or so, we're trying to get some updates out. And I mean, the controls aren't really something that I'm going to change. I think it's just something that people are going to have to either get used to or give up on. I mean, we put out a tutorial last week, which has helped a little bit, and we're going to refine that as well. But it's really more about teaching people how to play rather than changing the controls. But I think a lot of people coming from a mobile gaming background are going to be or having issues just because most mobile games are, just click or drag or very simple interactions that don't involve physics. And that's sort of hard to teach in a short tutorial.
So do you hope to switch, like in the future of replayable games, do you hope that you can take games to console and even PC in the future?
Yeah, I mean, that's always been the goal. I don't want to be like stuck doing mobile games, but as far as getting started in the gaming industry, I think that's a pretty easy place to start for most people.
And how frequently is the replayable games office working? How often are we expecting that somebody's always going to be working on the next idea for the game or just anything?
Well, it's mostly just me. So, I mean, I work with people like my friend Tony that I mentioned, and he basically works as a contractor for replayable games. But I try to work on it every day. Like I do have a day job, as you do, I imagine.
Yeah,
I think I heard you were a construction and construction.
yeah, an installation.
So yeah, I mean, I have my day job where I program stuff for a big or medium-sized company, I would say. And then I get home and I do some. Well, I guess lately it's all been Blades Away, but usually work on something or another. But yeah, I mean, this is, like I said, this is what I wanted to do with my life, and I'm finally kind of sort of getting there. And I think that's going to continue.
How long do you think that you're gonna be able to do it as a 1 to 2, 3 person thing? Like, when are you gonna try to get more help?
I mean, that's largely a financial question, I think. I'd probably have to quit my job first and develop some sort of capital.
Yeah, that is impossible to do in this in these times. It's very dangerous, very, very dangerous.
Right, it's a lot of risk involved. But yeah, I mean, I'd absolutely love to have like an office with people and people coming in and working 8-hour days or whatever. That's definitely something I'm striving towards. But I think it might take another game or two before I get there.
Now, is there anything that you think is undermined about your game or your company? Like, do you think you have any shortcomings that people nitpick you about, but you don't see it as such a huge issue?
I mean, I definitely have my own sort of theories and I guess you could say philosophy on gaming and what makes a good game that a lot of people may not agree with me on. For example, with Blades Away, when we were trying to develop the monetization strategy around, whether to put ads in or whether to charge people money or sell it, or there's a lot of different ways to go with a mobile game, obviously, but I got a lot of pushback for not wanting to put ads in there, especially the kind of ads where people sort of voluntarily agree to watch a video or whatever. I don't know if you've seen those, but you probably have.
Oh yeah. You guys have really cheap prices for a mobile game. You sell sets of blades and stuff. Do you it's a money hungry world, but building a company, you need the revenue to be able to push forward. Do you have any plans for future purchasable content?
I mean, we'd like to sell maps probably once we have a sort of map UI in place. So that's an option for us. But generally, I'm really happy with the monetization, and I did my research ahead of time, obviously, and try to find the best way to do it. But I'm still kind of surprised that people, will pay money for virtual goods, just because it's something that I rarely do, and my friends say they rarely do, even though I guess they probably do more than they want to admit. But yeah, it's kind of surprising that somebody will throw down a couple of bucks for virtual blades that they might play with for like a week or something.
Oh yeah, because the maps. One of my favorite things is I think you have about 3 to 4 maps right now. I don't. You have like every day it changes out. Do you have a plan to? Because one of the main things I see in the reviews, because I check them out when I email
the map
you.
selection.
Yeah, the map. People wanted a map selection, but I
Yeah,
kind of
so
like the randomness of the map.
yeah, I do like this sort of daily rotation as well, but obviously, I think it would benefit from being able to select the maps.
Yeah,
Right now we
somewhat
have
easier.
7. Yeah, so we have 7 right now, one for every day of the week, and that kind of helps with data and analytics and being able to see, okay, people like this one, or we get so many bad ratings on this day of the week, so maybe that map needs to change a little bit. The map design itself is something that I'm still trying to get better at, trying to figure out what works for this sort of game and what doesn't. So that's been kind of a process. But yeah, we absolutely want to create a UI for being able to not just select maps, but maybe even still have daily maps that show up and you can unlock them and then you can kind of master them, and it would give players something else to spend the virtual coins on. So kind of be more part of the game, as well as maybe maps that get unlocked for Blade Mastery, so it plays into that aspect a little bit.
Now, I really push people to go check out this game because I think it's one of a kind. I try to look at the related apps, and I tried to look at I tried typing in throwing knife games, but there's not really any, because there's the ones that you'll press and you'll throw a knife to a board and you'll get an apple, but I don't really think there's one that Blades Away does, where you have to throw it with your finger. You have to collect all these different blades. You can purchase some, or you can save up your gold for it, obviously. And it's just, do you think there's any other games that are like it, or have you seen any clones of your game so far? Because I haven't seen shit.
Yeah, I haven't seen any clones yet. I purposefully avoided looking at any of the sort of dozens, or maybe even there's just so many of those games on the Play Store. Avoided looking at them while we were in development because I didn't really want to sort of be influenced by other people's ideas on it. I kind of knew that I wanted to make a sort of simulation game about throwing knives, because I like throwing knives in real life. I have a kind of modest throwing knife collection. It's something that's pretty fun to do.
I just have, like,
I don't know if you've ever thrown knives, but it's a fun activity.
Yeah, it clears the mind. And being on a rainy day, I found that game, and I'm not gonna say that I spend like 8 hours a day on it. I can spend upwards of an hour on it. Truthfully, I can play up for an hour of it. It's really unique, fun. It makes time go fast with all the different blades, all the different challenges for each blade, trying to get it to silver, gold, diamond, and I think platinum. I haven't been able to reach that high. I'm getting up there. I'm trying.
Yeah, I think diamond is the highest. We were actually going back and forth on whether to call it platinum or diamond, and we might have gotten our terms mixed up in some place. But yeah, that was actually one of the challenges with building this, is sort of counterintuitively trying to get people not to play too much, because it's a sort of game that you can get burned down on pretty quick. We figured it had a shelf life of maybe like a few days when we started, because it's fun, but once you throw the knives around for a little bit, that's sort of all you can do, and it's like, okay, well, I've seen everything there is to see. So we're trying to figure out a way to stretch that out into like maybe a week or 2 weeks potentially.
With the different blades and unique, I'm sure adding different challenges is something that you guys have been doing for the new blades, which is really good because it adds more, stuff to do. So you're not, spin twice, direct hit, bounce. That's like the normal standard blades and stuff. But once you get the more pricier ones with the gold, you get more harder challenges to do.
There's quite a few different skill shots, and they're not even categorized so much as the starting blades have these and these other blades have those. Each one has some unique combination that I'm trying to fit to the blade itself, and that kind of came about as because my friend Tony, who designs the blades, he doesn't like take requests per se. I mean, he does, or he says he does, but he really just sort of does his own thing, and he does a really good job. So I don't want to say, well, this blade isn't good for these reasons. So I really wanted to come up with a system where I could balance the blades sort of after the fact, so he can just make whatever kind of blades he wants and give them to me, and then I could say, well, this blade is too hard, so we give it really good skill shots to kind of balance it out. And I think that's worked pretty well in terms of just being able to have anything from like a ninja star, which is super easy, to some of these blades that only have 1 point, that are really hard to get to stick into anything. And we balance that out with sort of their scoring potential. I think that works pretty well.
I love all the blades genuinely. If the guy is watching though, one blade is it's called the Naruto knife, throwing knife, and it's green. It doesn't have the Konoha symbol or anything. He's doing us dirty out here. I'm just saying. all the colors, and it looks really high quality, even because I have a older model phone, so I don't want to play it on high, so I don't tear my screen or just don't lose performance. And even on the lowest settings, it's beautiful. All like the maps are good. They're really well made. If you throw too far, there's even obstacles you can hit, like, which would seem out of the map but aren't. It's just a hidden spot, and you get bonus points for that, which is just amazing. With the new maps you make, I'm sure you'll add different unique ways to be able to get into areas, which is just awesome. It's not just collecting all the stars, it's being able to like find all the spots in the map too, because there's a lot of spots you can go in some of the maps.
Right, yeah, and it's kind of weird because like the further away or the more secret or obscure the location of the targets is, the more it kind of turns into a pachinko or a peggle kind of game, where it's just kind of dumb luck whether you hit something. Whereas close by, there's a lot of skill involved. But yeah, that's something that we kind of want to work into the map selection thing that I mentioned is maybe sort of like a checklist where you don't have to necessarily always hit those faraway targets, but you kind of want to hit them at least once to sort of check it off the list, and that'll contribute to something good.
No.
But yeah, I think you'll be really happy to hear that you like the artwork. I certainly think it's awesome.
Oh, the whole. Does he just do the blaze, or does he do like the terrain and all that as well?
Oh yeah, he does the design top
He's
to
just
bottom, all
him
the
and the
UI,
okay.
just everything design related. That's all him.
Is there any topics you think that I didn't get to that you want to bring up before we wrap this up though?
Yeah, I mean, it's whatever. I have a little bit of time left. But what kind of games do you play? I was kind of curious to ask.
Oh, where's my phone at? I will obviously Blades Away, and I have the chess game that you made. What else? I got Archiro. You know that one?
I don't. I don't think.
It's like a dungeon based game. You have a character that you can develop through. It's I've had it for a little bit too. It's decent. I suggest people go check it out. You have a
Yeah.
phone. You have you're gonna play 30 minutes, 20 minutes of Blades Away. You're gonna get a little bit burned out. You're gonna switch to a different game. Then you go back to Blades Away. Tomorrow because you want to get your double XP for the blade of the day, and you want to check out the new maps, and you want to see any new blades possible and updates, because I always check the updates. I loved because you put some like some fun stuff at the end of it. I got Golf Clash. It's a golfing game. I don't know. It's an Orna. It's kind of like Pokemon Go, but it's an RPG style, location based game. You go around, fight monsters, you collect shit, you get followers.
Oh, cool.
Simple.
Do you play any console games?
Oh yeah, I'm mainly on PC. I've got Minecraft, League of Legends. My fiance, she plays Sims occasionally. I got a whole bunch of Naruto games. I'm a huge fan of Naruto. Dauntless. The list goes on and on when it comes to my PC, because I switch game varieties almost every day. It just depends. I wake up and I want to play this. I wake up and I want to play that. But
Nice.
I always have my phone just in case I have to go out. I think that's everybody's go-to thing when finding a mobile game is when they're out, at a friend's house or family member's house, spend time with them. But when you're on your downtime, or when you're just at a doctor's appointment or something, you're waiting 2 hours
Right.
for the doctor to call you, obviously, you have something to do. And Blades Away and Happy Chess, because I don't want to just talk about the one game. I want to talk about the whole Replayable games applications, because the company, for being a 2-person team and all the minor help that you said that you had with chess game, they're good. They're really good for working a casual job in the day and then going home, spending a couple hours working on the app.
Yeah, I mean, it's definitely gotten a lot easier just because I think I got a lot of experience from working on Happy Chess for so long about, how to do things, and probably more importantly, what not to do, how to not reinvent the wheel in some places. So yeah, this project has gone really smoothly, and I think the future ones will as well. I definitely want to try my hand at some bigger things later on for console after Danger Dance and things like that. Lately, I've actually been thinking about some kind of daydreaming, I should say. Not really thinking about, but if I had to do like a licensed game, I think it'd be really cool to do like a Ghost in the Shell or Aliens game. Those are the only 2 licenses I would really want to do. But man, those would be such cool properties to tackle. Because I don't think there's really been. I mean, obviously the Aliens Isolation game that came out a few years ago was really good, and I think that captures the sort of atmosphere of the first Alien movie really well. But then Colonial Marines was such a letdown, and I think a lot of people would still really like to see that sort of realized, the second Aliens movie, in a more cohesive way. Um, and yeah, I don't know. I mean, it just feels like there's not a whole lot of innovation in the industry right now, especially from AAA companies.
There's a lot of games that you can tackle, and to find ones that haven't been shown, a lot of light of day that you find good ideas about. If you have the willpower to do it and you have the resources to be able to, why not? There is a chance that it could be a flop, but there's also a chance it could be a huge hit.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
And if you put like 100% in it, there's going to be no chance that it's not going to be good.
Yeah, I mean, it's actually pretty interesting if you track back like some of the biggest trends in gaming, like over the last 10, even 20 years. They all sort of have humble beginnings. Like if you look at MOBAs, like League of Legends, like you mentioned, and Dota. I mean, that was just a mod for Warcraft 3 originally that somebody just kind of made without even wanting money for it. Same thing with Counter-Strike. That was just a Half-Life 2 mod that blew up into its own thing. Minecraft, as you mentioned, that spawned like what the whole crafting genre, the survival genre that was popular.
Like the sandbox building survival that
Right.
it just blew up from one person working and that's what you're doing right now too. You could be the next Notch from Germany or Russia.
Oh, Russia, but yeah,
Russia.
But yeah, it's pretty crazy. I think the AAA industry tends to stagnate on what works, and then you have like people still recreating Doom, basically. Except for Doom came out and kind of reinvented itself, which was pretty cool to see.
Yeah, Doom's like one of the pinnacle games. It's just up there. Everybody knows that, and everybody has drawn. They've had to draw some source when making games like Doom. It was
have you played the more recent ones?
I played it recent. I played
like
it
the 2016 one.
On his Xbox One. It's pretty fun. I wanted to get it on my PC, but I also want to get VR Doom because that looks amazing. Being able to play that style of game in VR is just remarkable.
So you have a VR set, I guess?
Not yet. I need to upgrade my graphics card one generation above, and then I'll be able to get a headset.
Yeah, VR is pretty cool. I have an old DK2. I think that's what it's called. But yeah, it was like before even all the hand peripherals came out, and it's definitely something else. It's pretty different from just standard video gaming, but it also has sort of a lot of issues and restrictions that are going to be interesting once they're overcome. Like walking around comes to mind. It's sort of difficult to do in VR.
I've always wanted a like a treadmill type VR thing where you can walk and run, but I've seen test models of it, and it's like a dome, but it's inverted, so it's going down. And if you walk one way, your person in the game will walk that way, and you can run, and it's like a endless tarp, so it just keeps going and going and going. And
yeah.
If it can be brought to like commercial level, to where they can actually sell that for consoles and PC, that would be like the next generation of gaming itself.
Yeah, I mean, that's kind of a hard sell for a lot of people just because it takes up so much room, and then you have to have games specifically developed for it probably. But I have seen it at like the conferences. I never got to try it, unfortunately, but yeah, it's a really cool thing. I think PlayStation came out with something sort of similar that was much smaller scale. It's called like the PS Rudder, I believe, and it's not so much walking, but you sort of like tilt your feet in a certain direction to go. And that seems like it could be more plausible for consumer industry. But yeah, VR is really cool. If you ever get a chance to play Super Hot VR, it's amazing. Really makes you feel like you're in a Matrix.
And any last words or comments for the people that just aren't sold about Blaze Away or the company Replayable Games in general?
No, I mean, I'm just out here doing my thing. So
Hey.
if you like it, great. If you don't, there's plenty of other games out there.
Hey, you hated me when I made mobile games, but now all my fucking console games are sold out. Fuck haters.
Well, I doubt that'll happen, but
Hey,
as long as somebody likes it, I think that's good enough for me.
with your laid back attitude, and you seem like you do have a love and devotion for creating games, I feel, once you get to a bigger audience with a game that you make in the future, I'm sure you'll take off.
I hope you're right.
Knock on wood for you, though. We're not superstitious here, but for the people that are listening that are, don't worry, we're not jinxing him. We wish Maxx and everybody at Replayable Games in the future, even, good luck. We love you guys. Any last words, comments?
Thanks for having me on the podcast. It's been fun. And I hope that you blow up as well. I mean, I really like your podcast, and when I was listening to it, I was like, man, this is really good. Why isn't it bigger than it is? And
yeah, guys, come on. Where's the sponsors at? Where's this? Well,
exactly.
I hope everybody likes this episode. This is the 5th episode of the podcast. So I wanted to reach out to somebody, and I've been playing Blades Away. I didn't say this at all in the beginning. I've been playing Blades Away probably like 2 weeks after the release, and I've been playing it ever since. I haven't uninstalled it I uninstalled it to reinstall it because I thought something was fucked up, and I just lost all my data, so I had to fucking grind back on it. We're gonna get there. But it's an amazing game. I really suggest people checking it out, take a look, even if it's just 20 minutes. They added a tutorial, which I didn't get at first. Everybody's lucky now. They'll show you all the basics of how to play the game, how it works, which I think is really cool for the new people coming in. So just go check it out, play the tutorial. If you don't like it, like he said, there's other games out there, but I'm sure a majority of the people will see this as a decent game to play when they have the 5-10 minutes spare time to just go on their phone while they're just trying to get time to go. It's perfect. It's really good. I really suggest it. Just take a look. All right.
Awesome. Thank you for the plug.
No, massive plug for this guy. All right. Take care, guys. See ya.